What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the debut EP and retail product by Dolla ign. Basically, this project is called Beach House EP and it came out in the winter of 2014. So the thing about this particular product is just the fact that Dolla ign broke onto the scene in like mid 2013 as far as the pitch count particularly happened. He had a hit single Paranoid that was on his mixtape from 2013. In the early 2010s, Dolla ign had a series of Beach House mixtapes that culminated with like the hit single Paranoid, which was a single that was saved for this particular product, which I do slightly remember in early 2014, but not as much I'd have to say. But I do like the particular concept about it. This is some stuff that was kind of, I feel like Dolla ign and Wiz Khalifa took the world. I feel like Dolla ign, Juicy J, and Wiz Khalifa kind of took the rap world by storm back in 2014 as far as the pitch can happen with it. And this is one of the projects that spearheaded that particular movement. Now, Dolla ign did not drop his debut album until 2015, which I reviewed back in 2016. It's a pretty good pitch, has some good affiliation about it, but this was one of his more explosive type projects here that definitely did a lot of damage and had some of his largest hit singles, had a meme song in particular with the song Or Not and some pitches like that. So it was just some phrases that were kind of uttered around times as far as like 2014, 2015 kind of happened, and he had some red hot kind of DJ Mustard beats that helped trend things as far as that pitch went because DJ Mustard was on fire in 2014 and 2013, 2015 as well. This EP is a good look, but it's not a full-blown classic. I'd have to say it's kind of dicey in like some respects. There's just I feel like there probably need to be at least maybe one or two hit more songs on here. Out of the 7 songs on here, I wound up recommending 4, which is a little bit more than half the product, I'd have to say. So it's kind of, this project is somewhat haphazard, but it does have 2 laser sharp singles, I would have to say, which is a pretty good pitch. It's carried it throughout a good chunk of 2014. It's just a good look overall for Dolla ign comparatively when he was just still in his mixtape type scene in 2013. So he blew up pretty quickly. The Wiz Khalifa affiliation, DJ Mustard affiliation didn't hurt. I'd have to say it was just a good concept. But basically, the thing about Dolla ign is he kind of helped spawn like a subgenre for a little while as far as that pitch can happen between like 2013 to about 2016 or so with like the R and bass and kind of ratchet type music. DJ Mustard also kind of helped helm that. Juicy J, Jeezy, some of those type folks, Wiz Khalifa in some senses. Just some of the songs. If you like songs like Paranoid and Or Not, some of those type pitches, this was kind of a sound that was around for a while with folks like Kid Ink and like Ray Sremmurd, some of those type people, Ray Sremmurd, some of those type folks in particular. It was just a sound that lasted throughout the mid 2010s. It was a pretty good pitch, so kind of gotten some of that just within that relative. It was kind of trendy for that particular time, but it seems it's not as quite, it's not, it doesn't pop up as oftenly nowadays. I know that Dolla ign has been working with Kanye. I know that Dolla ign has been working with Kanye West in recent times. He put out the Vultures albums, one of which has already come out, one of which is Vultures 2 is getting ready to come out later on. But I would have to say Dolla ign. I know he put out like an album with like Jeremiah recently, but I'm not as full blown as sure as what Dolla ign's been up to in recent times. But I know he dropped like an album possibly in 2017, some pitches like that. I need to retouch base with them, but he's actually someone that hasn't made too many terrible appearances on here as far as that pitch is going to happen on my YouTube channel. But that's going to change as far as pitches going to go. But yeah, this is definitely like a relatively notable EP for like the 2010s as far as that particular pitch kind of goes. This was kind of a big deal around the time just to be able to say it's somewhat of a seminal one. I'd say just the impact behind it. There was just some trendy type stuff that kind of lasted for a while. Once again, this kind of helped spawn a subgenre and some pitches like that. It was just kind of the concept of like a blend, kind of the sort of stuff that Drake was doing, and like there's another R&B rapper that was kind of doing that, like Flo Rida, some of those type folks around this particular time that were kind of happening. But he did kind of have some of that where everyone was kind of turning to him for hooks for like a good while between like 2014 and 2017, I'd have to say. We'll go ahead and talk about the singles. So there were 3 of them, and basically out of those 3 singles, I wound up recommending 2. Basically, the first single is Paranoid. This is like a boppish kind of vanilla nightclub appeal that this song particularly kind of has. It's like a commercial and dance ready song circa 2014, I would definitely have to say. And this has a nice production about it. So this is just some affable kind of hip hop club bounce. This is not like a hardcore rap type song. This is just kind of Paranoid is just more ladies bound pitches like that. Just a nice affable type one. Just a nice affable and vanilla type one to kind of get for like some standard kind of appeal. It's like probably one of the more basic and just kind of snappy, just at the forefront of rap music type songs of 2014. I'd have to say when you think of 2014, this is probably in like the top 10. This is probably in like the top 10, top 15, top 20 of songs that were the biggest of this particular year. Between this song and Or Not, both of which were pretty good around that particular pitch. This actually came out in 2013, was just the pitch behind it. It crested into 2014. This was a big deal around that particular time. Just a good concept, nice boppish type one, just a sing-songy type one that works pretty well. Both these songs, both Paranoid and Or Not, are produced by DJ Mustard, which is a pretty good pitch. I think I said that that before, but just to say that. But yeah, Or Nah is the second single. This has Wiz Khalifa on there, which is a pretty good pitch. It's like a few notches more gnarled of like some Night Venue bounce than Paranoid kind of is, but this is a good one to punch with Paranoid, I would definitely have to say. And this is just like a trendy kind of meme song. Definitely within the pitch behind it, just Twitter type talk pitches like that, or just in just talk in general, just saying one of those type phrases. Like, I mean, it's somewhat of a gimmick song, but it pulled off the vibe just because it continues to be a phrase that's uttered just when you see like hip hop blogs and just things like that, or just overall in phrases in general as far as that pitch kind of happens. It's a pretty nice one to kind of get, just a boppish type one. Really like the gnarled type production on here, just really a little bit more of a leaner type one. Do appreciate the appeal. These are some of the ones. I'm surprised that DJ Mustard kind of wore out his production fare as far as being like a producer as quickly as he did just between 2013 and 2016, just because he had some real nice snarling type ones. It's just too bad that these particular productions got so tiresome, because he probably, I mean, I would definitely suppose some good productions from DJ Mustard could probably pop up in like 2022, 2024, some pitches like that. This is kind of the concept. This is kind of retro in some senses nowadays. I'd say, or now it's kind of a classic vintage bop to kind of get here, but it is a nice one. It's another nice highlight. This is another probably top 15, top 20 song out of 2014 in rap music, I'd have to say. And then the third single, which I don't recommend, is just the Paranoid remix, which just has Trey Songz and French Montana on there. It's the same type of production for the most part, maybe a little bit snappier, a little bit more jittery, I'd have to say, but I just didn't appreciate the concept. I just didn't appreciate the concept as much. It was not as affable as far as that pitch kind of went along with this. That's this kind of thing, but 2 out of 3 is pretty good. I mean, basically, Paranoid, the original. I think in some cases, some folks, if you like the original, there's a good chance that you might like the remix. But I felt like it was just a little bit more frenetic and just unorganized compared to the pitch behind it. But that's just kind of the concept. I look after it. So out of the 7 songs in this particular album, like I was saying before, I wound up recommending 4. So the pitch behind it, the 4 songs I recommend would be Paranoid, Or Nah, Familiar, and Never Be the Same. So to talk about Never Be the Same, this is a pretty nice one. This is another hip hop type one, a more vanilla and just basic type one, basic bopper to kind of get. It's like a basic kind of early evening turn up, I would have to say. It's like an end of work shift kind of vanilla radio unwind, I would definitely have to feel like, and this is the Kickstarter kind of hit. So this is kind of something that like Cobra Starship would do back in 2011, 2012, some folks like that. It's a light EDM lick type one. It's not really EDM, but it's just the concept of just being some basic kind of hip hop, just kind of vanilla pop rap type connotation as far as that pitch kind of goes. It's the sort of stuff that when you think of Nelly's bops out of the 2000s that were just more pop rap or flow right out of the early 2010s, this is sort of Never Be the Same. It's just the sort of appeal, just a car unwind, just to kind of get ready to get crunk, to put on the sunglasses, some pitches like that, and just get ready to get turned up for the night, go pick up some beers and get ready to get crunk as far as that pitch can have, go order a pizza, some things like that. I would say Never Be the Same is a pretty affable type one that could probably be heard at work as far as that pitch goes, is whether or not washing dishes or some of those type pitches, just After Effects, it just some relatively SFW type music to kind of get here. It's similar to like Flow Rider stuff, some folks like that are just more makeshift friendly. I'd say it's just a good concept for that. Pretty overall nice one. Familiar is another turned up type one. This is pretty similar. This is kind of a little bit more turned up than Paranoid, but not quite as vicious as Or Not, I'd have to say, but it is pretty frenetic type one. It's like a jittery kind of social night fare of a song, I'd have to say. It's a very tipsy and talkative outing. I would definitely have to feel like, definitely with some drinks in your system where you've got some chatty things to say. I just would have to say in particular, good concept, kind of have some socializing. This would just be like some stellar kind of, this is like some stellar kind of commercial ratchet type tunes kind of get here. So this one is not produced by DJ Mustard, but it is produced by Young Chop, who's basically this is produced by Young Chop, who's basically a longtime producer for Chief Keef as far as that pitch can have with it. So it's a pretty good concept for that. Familiar is just a real jittery type one to kind of get for some frenetic typeness to kind of have, just pretty much on par with Or Not as far as that pitch kind of goes along with it. A little bit less SFW, I'd have to say, but it's just relative good pitch. The thing about this particular album is just the fact that some of these bops on here, like I feel like Paranoid and Never Be the Same, are a little bit SFW. It's just some basic kind of pop rap type tunes. But there are some edgier type turn up type ones to kind of get for just like the moments of just having a little bit more gnarledness and getting some smokage in your system and flirting with the VZ as far as that pitch kind of particularly happens with this. So it's a good enough concept. But to talk about some of these songs I don't recommend on here, basically, like I said, don't recommend the Paranoid remix. This did not really add much or enhance the song that much. I'd say Work was kind of a clumsy type one. This had some poetry on there that just didn't work quite as well. I like the concept of at least doing it, but just the production execution of this particular song was a lengthier song, was over 7 minutes. It's just kind of a clumsy type one in terms of like the relative eloquence and just ability that kind of had with it. It's too bad for that because both Casey, Veggies, and Twister on here probably could have been a better song for them as far as that pitch going. It was just a little bit too artsy. A little bit too much of like a little bit too much of an artsy and disengaging production as far as that particular one went on that one. I would have to say that Wood and Leather was just kind of a disappointment. Wood and Leather was just not the affable one either. I'd have to say it was trying to be like a Travers type one with the pitch behind it, but it didn't really pull off the vibes. Probably needed something a little bit more interesting. I'm surprised that he didn't go with the beat. Like, I feel like something that appeals to the whip a little bit better than Wood and Leather would be or nah, some of those type pitches, or at least never be the same as another nice one, just for like the pace of getting ready to turn up for the night as far as that pitch can goes. Just switching to flip mode, just shaking off the work shift as far as that kind of goes. But Wooden Leather just kind of felt like a cruising type one that just didn't really have the appeal behind it. This one really didn't have much style or appeal. Don't really know the direction I was trying to go with this particular one, but just the affability behind it was just very low on this particular song. Just didn't really have much charm to it. So that's the thing about this particular EP. So me recommending 4 songs out of 7 on this particular product. I'm gonna go ahead and give this particular EP like a 6.75 out of 10. I feel like there's a pretty good pitch behind it. There's just a little bit more than half, I'd have to say, but just the fact that even disliking 3 songs when there's only 7 on here just detracts from the score quite a bit, I'd have to say. 2 megaton singles, I'd have to say, some good DJ Mustard productions, just some overall affability for like some good bounce. This is a pretty work-friendly album, I'd have to say. This is a pretty work-friendly and social album, I'd have to say. Definitely some trendy meme typeness on here as far as that pitch can goes along with it. Just some good bops and club bounces as far as that pitch can goes, whether being in flip mode, just got done with work, or still the finishing touches of being at work, some pitches like that, getting some bills paid as the Travers of going out and about, and pitches like that. Just what I had to say. And there are some good guests on here. B.O.B. is on Paranoid, which is a pretty good example. It's good to see him as far out as 2013, just because his big years were really 2010, 2011 as far as that pitch kind of went. Travis Scott, kind of early Travis Scott features on Familiar, which is a pretty good pitch to get him on that song. And then Fredo Santana's on there. I don't know him as well, but I'd say it's a good concept for that. And then J Rock from Kendrick Lamar's Campus on Never Be the Same, which is a pretty good pitch to kind of get that one. So some good appeals to kind of get some of these on here. They enhance the song, I'd say, just within the pitch. So these are kind of like some R&B type blends with like some hip hop type connotations, just like the pop rap type appeal as far as that kind of goes. There's affability behind it, SFW, but then it also has some weekend edge just within a compact kind of 4 song or 7 song bite. 4 song if you count the songs I recommend, but 7 song in terms of the overall product appeal. So yeah, that particularly happens to be a thing. So the social score, I'm gonna give this social score like an 8. I'm gonna give the social score like an 8 out of 10, just because I feel like the bops on here, like there are at least 3 singles. The Paranoid remix kind of has somewhat. I feel like that's at least for folks. I feel like the Paranoid remix didn't do much for me personally, but there is the extra added benefit of having Trey Songz and French Montana on there. So there are at least 3 songs. There are at least 3 singles on an EP. And then you add Familiar and Never Be the Same. And those are some nice ones to kind of have for like some frenetic kind of weekend and just overall work shift type bops to kind of get just within the appeal. Works good for most days out the week, I'd have to say. Thursdays, Mondays, Fridays, Saturdays, Tuesdays. This has some real great appeal as far as that kind of goes. Not a ton of just overall clumsy type moments in terms of the aspects behind it. So I feel like the social appeal, just the meme type, just the social bite and casual appeal of this particular project is rather high, I'd have to say, especially for a short project. If it just would have had one more hit, if it probably just would have had 1 or so more hits on here, I probably would have given it like a way higher, like damn near a classic type score in terms of the casual appeal. This is a real affable type one, very trendy for 2014. That's kind of the concept. In terms of the future, like once again, I'm not as full blown sure as to what Ty Dolla Sign has been up to. I'd have to say I know he dropped Vultures with Kanye West. As far as that kind of goes, he's working on Vultures 2. In terms of like his solo stuff, I know he put out a project in like 2019 or 2020 with Jeremiah, an R&B singer, and I know he's done some stuff like in 2017. But it's been a while since I've touched base with him, so we'll have to get back to some more of these. But this is a pretty trendy, definitely a seminal project out of 2014 in rap music. Definitely one to look into if you haven't by this point, or just refresh your memory on as far as that pitch kind of happens. It's basically packed with singles and has that casual appeal, whether it's SFW or NSFW, I'd have to say.